The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Hello. Happy almost New Year. Welcome to the final episode of 2023 of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author, and I hope that 2023 was as good to you as it was to us here at the podcast. We are going to end the year with our friends at Stormhouse Brewing in North Miami Beach. Josh Brinzo and his team are great friends of the podcast, great friends of the blog, and they just make some great beers to begin with. And they actually held another Brewfest not too long ago. This was the Holiday Cheers and Beers Brewfest, which was on a gorgeous, wonderfully nice and cool Sunday afternoon in North Palm Beach, bringing in a lot of fantastic beers and spirits and a lot of artisans as well. In fact, I know, probably light spoiler alert, I'm not going to say who purchased what, but I will say that some very interesting jewelry made from anglerfish scales was purchased. I'm not going to say who it was and where it's going, but hopefully that person will know by the time this episode airs. Anyways, we've got a lot of people that we're going to be speaking to today, so I'm just going to get right into it because we just had a whole lot of fun. The first person you're going to hear is Greg from Bay 13 Brewing. He has been on the podcast before, and not only did he bring some great beers, but he was advertising his next beer fest, which is the return of Whoop Whoop, one of the best beer festivals that we have ever been to. It's great to see how much Bay 13 and Stormhouse really is kind of collaborating with each other. They will go to each other's brew fests. It's just a lot of fun. So we spoke to Greg from Bay 13. Charles Chase from Coastal Karma is coming back onto the podcast. He was there and we did a great episode with him a couple years ago. Etienne Bourgeois from Frazier Creek Brewing and Distillery. He was there. You heard him last on our previous episode earlier this year from the Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail Festival that was at Summer Crush Winery in Fort Pierce. He's coming back to talk about one of the fun special holiday beers that he brought. Jesse Phelps from Side Door Brewing. Once again, you also heard him on the episode at the Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail Festival. And we spoke to him specifically about a beer that he brought, Grogu Cookies. If you know anything about it, you recognize that bright blue hue anywhere. And that was kind of one of the big hits of the beer festival. So we spoke to Jesse about that. Matt Stetson from Warhammer Cider. It has been, in fact, the last time I spoke to him, I didn't even have the podcast. He previously of Accomplice, he was there with some of the ciders that he's been cooking up. He's actually getting distributed throughout South Florida through Three Mavens. He's got some fantastic ciders. Really, really great to see him and try his stuff again. Pareidolia Brewing was there. Usually if Pareidolia is on this podcast, it is their owner, Pete Anderson. He was not available to come, but he sent Nicole Beckett, one of the team at Pareidolia, in his stead. So she was able to talk about some of the beers that Pareidolia brought. Magic 13 was there. Their head brewer, Gene Taboada, is always at the event bringing some of his beers. I really, really like what he is doing at Magic 13. I love the fact that they will always come to Stormhouse, so it was great to reconnect with him. He was on our Magic 13 episode not too long ago. Walking Tree, it's been a long time since they've been on the podcast, but Jack is their sales and brand wizard, guru, human being. I spoke to him about some of the beers that he brought and some of the future beers that I was able to try because of him, because they do have some new awesome beers that are going to become part of the core lineup pretty soon. And then to switch gears completely, everybody was a Florida beer except for Delirium. And if you know anything about Delirium, you know that it is one of the best Belgian beers on the market. It is fantastic. In fact, I think Delirium Tremens, one major beer writer, put Tremens as the best beer on earth. I cannot argue. I mean, I have my ideas. I'd probably put a Belgian beer at the top of that list for myself as well, just because the Belgians are amazing at it. But Troy Barfoot is one of their brand managers for the state of Florida, and they were there with a giant inflatable elephant. And if you know Delirium, you understand, with some of the beers that they were sort of reintroducing to Florida craft beer drinkers. And so we spoke to Troy about that and some of the beers that he brought. And at Delirium Red is phenomenal. And finally, the last person that we're going to speak to is our friend Josh Brinzo, our gracious host at Stormhouse Brewing, who was very kind to invite us back again and just talk about an enjoyable, fun, fantastic celebration of a lot of great things that make Florida great. So if you need information on any of these people, if you want links, definitely go check out our show notes. I don't think I can run through that list again. I'd rather get you into the episode itself. So enjoy. So, Greg.
Yes.
What did you bring today that seems to have hit pretty well with everybody?
Ooh, probably the Barrel Aged Valley of Giants. We did only bring 2 bottles of it, but that went pretty much immediately. So that's our spiced rum barrel aged Belgian dark that we aged in the barrel for about 8 months, and then we added toasted cinnamon, dark raisins, and some Madagascar vanilla and let it hang out for another 2 or so months before we bottled it.
The interesting thing about that is the dark raisins. I'm going to assume that is different from the regular store shelf bought raisins.
No, they're the same. It's just instead of like the, I guess, green raisins, we went with the darker raisins just to give it more of like the characteristic dried fruit notes and seem a little bit darker, a little bit more sweet than the green raisins.
Now, is Valley of Giants going to be sort of the yearly, this is our bottle release, this is our big aged release, this is kind of what we're going to be doing from here on out, sort of yearly thing?
So, no, it's the one that we had a few bottles left over from. We do have a few more barrels going right now, so we'll do the goal is about 4 barrel-aged releases a year, like once a quarter. But right now we have an Imperial Porter running through an Eagle Rare barrel that we also got all the bourbon out of that barrel for us as alone. And then we have a Baltic Porter that's ready to go into a 1792 barrel whenever that gets in. And then in 2 other barrels, we have the same batch of an American barley wine. One of them was just a port barrel that we got in wet. And then the other barrel was when we finished bottling and kegging off the Valley of Giants, we immediately filled it up with the barley wine. And so that's been going for about 8-9 months now.
That's awesome. And obviously the other thing that you are pushing other than your beers is Whoop, which is coming back. Absolutely cannot wait because it was a fantastic time last year, and it seems that it's going to be even bigger and better this year.
Yeah, a lot of new breweries coming out. Pretty much everybody that was there last year, brewery-wise, is coming back. We've got between 33 and 35 breweries signed up. We've got the whole street closed off in front. We're getting a showmobile out there, 3 to 4 musical acts throughout the evening. A few different activities and areas for like if somebody can't find a sitter, bring your kid. There'll be something there, and then different like games and activities and stuff on the patio as well. So, and then we're keeping the indoors rearranged as the VIP section as well. So there'll be some premium food options in there for VIP ticket holders. You get to take advantage of the AC, and then of course flush toilets.
Which is something that I've come to appreciate at a beer festival.
Yeah, those are a luxury item. Yeah.
Will the VIP ticket holders also have the bottles like the 2023 Whoop was?
No, we're not going to do that this year because we don't have. So last year for Whoop, we had the 3 barrel-aged beers. We don't have 3 barrel-aged beers right now. So we're lowering the price on the VIP. And then just kind of trying to make sure that there's value added in to kind of replace that as well. So we're also having somebody come out to do a live screen printing of a specialty shirt. So I don't 100% quote me on this, even though I'm talking into a microphone, but I'm pretty sure that the VIPs get a ticket for a free screen printed shirt.
Awesome. And the best way to go to get information on which we'll be featuring Stormhouse again, if I am correct. Where's the best place to go for that info?
You can check out our website, and then the tickets are available on our website as well, too. So we're not going through Eventbrite, so there's not any add to cart, and then why did the price double as soon as I hit checkout situation. So it's whatever it says on the website, that's what the tickets are going to be.
Awesome. Thank you. Can't wait to be there.
I'm told I had a great time last year, and I expect to have an even better time this year.
So is this your first time at Stormhouse for one of their beer festivals?
This is our third or fourth time doing this. So we've been here since the beginning when they first started it. And it's only gotten better. So more people, more breweries, more tents of people selling stuff. So it's been nice. It's really good.
Nice. And how has the reception been to the beers that you brought today? Because you have kind of a wide range of styles with you.
Yeah, we've gone from the Martzen to the IPA to a stout and then peach marshmallow sour, and they've all been received very well. People love them, especially the Martzen today for some reason, but a lot of people like the Martzen today.
It's a little bit surprising to see a Samaritan going so well in December. Usually I would assume that something a little bit stronger, a little bit darker, especially with how slightly overcast it is today, but it's been killing it.
I think that overcast makes it just right, and it's gotten a little bit cooler. So they're like, oh, let's try more of the dark beers or the amber styles. So the Martzen fits in, and so does the stout. But the sours, honestly, the sours probably been our best seller today in terms of what people are choosing the most. But when you get a lot of women at a beer festival and stuff like that, they like the sours a little bit better, which is all good. But you start to go through a little more of the sour. But yeah,
I feel personally attacked because the sour is what I went for. The peach. Let's go ahead and say what this actually is: peach marshmallow sour. Don't know why, but now I've noticed peach is all of a sudden becoming the fruit du jour when it comes to brewing. Have you noticed that as well?
I like the peaches because they can be very sweet up front, but they have this tartness on the back end. And I feel like fruits that go really well with sours are the ones that are kind of that sweet up front, a little tart on the back end. So I love using peach in our sours, to be honest. Our next sour is actually going to be a black currant with black cherry, and the black currant is also another good fruit that's really good with sours. They use it a lot in meads because of that tartness, because meads are so sweet, but they use the black currant and it has that tart finish to it, and I feel like for sours and beers it's a really good combination too.
That's awesome. Looks like you're getting a little bit of a line grown, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll see you guys in the future, near future.
Yeah, so I'm going to only ask about the one beer, which seems to be the one that you're sort of focused on the most. You have a special Christmas ale at today's event. Can you describe that for everybody?
Yes, absolutely. We're very excited this year to bring out Jolly Dan's Bourbon Barrel Aged Christmas Ale. It's an amber ale, 6.5%, in freshly dumped bourbon barrels. So it's a crusher, super easy to drink. We have it available at the brewery in both 16.9 ounce bottles and on draft.
Who is Dan?
Dan Rogers is our brewmaster. 30 years of experience, internationally renowned, and you'll know why once you come to the brewery.
So I would assume that for right now, those bourbon barrels are not yours. Is this something that you're hoping, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, this will be everything, like everything is in-house, those barrels that you're using to age the beer just happen to be barrels that you had from the spirits that you're distilling?
Absolutely. So we've been brewing a batch of bourbon every week. And so we're filling a barrel every week, and we're trying to build up that stock. So once our bourbon comes out, beer's going in those barrels, we're bringing everything full circle.
How long does it take to actually age a barrel of bourbon?
Minimum of 2 years. But obviously, as you know, like everybody has different vintages where they go up to 20, 23 years, probably the oldest. But we've got to fill those barrels so we can get that clock ticking.
That is amazing. I cannot wait to try some. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Glad to speak with you again. And can't wait to do it again.
Cheers to beers.
Cheers to beers.
All right. So if there's any beer that sort of has the entire event on lockdown, let's be honest, it's Grogu Cookies. Before we even talk about the beer, does it surprise you how much hype it gets?
A little bit, but
My idea has always kind of been, I want the beer to be visual. I want people to kind of see it, walk around with it, and then come back to our tent. So I want something that's striking visually.
And I mean, definitely Side Door has a lot of that visual strike because of that. So go into the beer, like what is it, and then how did you develop the insanity that is this?
So I started with our basic pale ale. My main focus was trying to figure out flavor, color, what kind of additives could I use to kind of get both at the same time. So I came up with the idea of basically a snow cone flavoring. The previous week to when I started making it, I went to a festival in Port St. Lucie, and they had a snow cone truck there, and I just kind of fell in love with all the flavors. And after that, I kind of realized, like, that's a pretty cheap additive to use for a beer. And then also getting a lot of the sweetness from the syrups, so it kind of just, it fit all the needs that I had for that particular beer.
Where does it go in? You don't put that in during fermentation or boil or anything. I would assume that would come in at the end.
Yes, so pretty much that's a keg treatment right now. Eventually, I think that's maybe one of our core beers, because people seem to love it, and I want to do it all the time. So I might kind of scale up to just a regular, a full batch of that particular beer.
And obviously, it's got a lot of dramatic impact when you're at a beer festival like this. Do you ever have it on tap at Side Door? And if it is on tap, how does it hit?
It's always been very popular. And whenever we try to do a beer fest, we always try to make sure that our beer that we're bringing to an event is also on tap at the brewery. Because we want to draw people back to our business. So if they like the beer here, we'll tell them, hey, where we are, it's in the tap room right then, just it's available for everyone to have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
So I guess it's exciting for you to be the only cider here at the event this fine day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being the only cider is certainly the advantage. You can say that you're the absolute best that's there and not have to have an ego doing it, so that's always fun. But beyond that, of course, you can be innovative and crazy, and that's sort of what we do. We know we are serving to a beer crowd, so we want to really surprise and be different. And we do have one cider that, of course, is very traditional, but we also get to have a lot of fun and do something that we think the beer crowd's really going to enjoy as well.
And I guess let's talk about the traditional, because even though it is a traditional, it doesn't seem to be very traditional when you're talking about adding strawberry and vanilla to a cider. Or is that just what tends to happen anyways?
Well, it's about as close to traditional as what we do. I mean, we do make an apple cider. It's a straight-up apple cider. I just hate making it. But we base everything in tradition for that one. So, yeah, absolutely. We take a perfectly good traditional semi-dry cider that's made according to the way that my grandfather taught me how to make it. And then, then we mess it up, I guess you could say. We throw some strawberry at it. We throw some vanilla at it. It's semi-dry. It's super easily drinkable. But with the acidity and the sugars, it can age. This one's 18 months old. So that's kind of cool. We can do that kind of stuff. And by tradition, of course, you would age your cider, which these days, in American culture, we try to get it on the shelves as fast as humanly possible. But by tradition, you have acidity and sugars and alcohol that are able to preserve it, and you would age those.
And obviously that is more traditional than the smoothie cider that you have as the eyes roll and you start laughing. And let's talk about that monstrosity for a little bit.
So the interesting thing is that's also rooted in tradition. It's just not cider's tradition. It's actually Belgian traditions. So what's neat is that's a Belgian yeast cider that's been aged and treated just like you would treat any really cool fruited Dubel or maybe a quad that you're throwing fruit and spices at. There is one part of that in there. Those traditions are there. It starts off in a barrel and it is fermented with cherry skins, which is a very traditional thing to do for those style beers. However, we're doing it with cider, which is very yin-yang. Then we take that and we go to a different tradition, which is the very American tradition of throwing a pile of fruit, puree-based wise, at a beer normally, but we're taking our perfectly good Belgian-style cider, which is not really a thing, but we do it, and we throw that on mango and passion fruit, and so now you have something that's yin-yang. So we're a-traditional by being traditional. It's very confusing, but very tasty, and so I love to do it. I love the mishmash. It's like the mosh pit of flavor and styles.
That's amazing. I do appreciate it. And that smoothie cider, not going to lie, was absolutely fantastic. Not much to look at, but it was absolutely fantastic. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And I love doing these interviews with you. And it's just so much fun. And you're the man, we rock. And you're there to kind of, cover it all for us. So we do appreciate you.
Please make sure to leave all of that. And thank you very much. Bye. So is this Pareidolia's first time here at Stormhouse?
I believe so. Yeah. This is our first time coming down for the Holiday Brewfest, and we're excited to be here.
Yeah, this particular wooden face has been through quite a few Brewfests at this point. I've seen it in many different places around the state.
Absolutely. We're always at festivals. We do about 13 to 15 a year.
It seems like you do a lot more. Obviously, you brought the standard 32958, your core packaged beer, but the white stout, that's a little different. What exactly is this particular beer?
So our white stout is basically here to blow your mind because it drinks just like a stout. It's got a full body, rich malty notes, that coffee flavors coming through really strong. We actually collaborated with a local coffee roaster in Sebastian, Florida, and it came out pretty phenomenal. Like, we're happy about it.
That is awesome. And how has it been received here at the event today?
Rumor has it's one of the best brews at the festival.
It's kind of exciting. And I guess I'd say about an hour or so away from the brewery. Are you getting a lot of people that are interested in making the drive north to Sebastian to come visit?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of people have been interested in doing holiday brew trips where they're going to hit up breweries on their way up north. So I'm excited to see some of these faces back at the pub.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun. That's awesome. I need to come back and try the white stout a little bit later on. So thank you.
And thank you. Have a great time.
Magic 13.
Just leave me alone.
So you have brought solace to other beer festivals. Your beautiful ginger saison, but you have not brought the mango habanero sour all that much. And as Steve goes and grabs another pour of this, I would assume, I guess to start with, how do you start pairing peppers with a sour? Usually they just put them in a blonde ale or maybe even a stout.
Peppers and sours. I made the base sour. I added the fruit, and I thought it was missing something. It's missing like a little kick, and I remember having maybe tacos with peppers, like the sweet thing with the hot thing, and I was like, this needs some heat. So I just started working with peppers, and I rounded it down to habanero peppers and just a little kick back your throat to balance it out.
And how do you control it to where it's just that little kick and not hot sauce?
Oh, tasting. Just taste, and I do like a control thing in the brewery. Serve, 100 milliliters of beer, then this much peppers, and double till we get where we want to be, and then just keep it that way.
And it's sort of amazing that you were able to control it, like you said, because it really is just a little bit, just on the back, and the mango is just a little bit. Do you kind of feel that this is one of those beers that will be a permanent fixture or at least a seasonal fixture, that it sort of works with the clientele, or is this sort of a one-off sort of play?
It was a one-off, but bartenders at the tap room keep sending me videos of customers asking for more. So I had to make it a core.
That's amazing. Usually with beers like this, the fruit will change. Do you think you might try to see any other different sort of peppers like jalapeno or datil maybe?
Not in this recipe, maybe on a new recipe, because this uses various types of mangoes, so it's very specific. But yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, man.
You brought, for what everybody sees that you brought, of course, your standards. You got their IPA, got the Florida orange wheat, and you've got the Baby Cakes oatmeal stout. Of those, when you come to a beer festival like this, especially with today, which one tends to hit the biggest?
Shockingly, Baby Cakes Oatmeal Stout. A lot of people come up and normally want to have a stout, and they're a little afraid of it. They don't want that big, thick viscosity of a beer that's high in ABV, that's going to just punch them in the face with the roastiness, or sweetness. Unfortunately, with some of these pastry stouts a lot of the breweries are doing, it's overtly sweet. This is not that beer. So a lot of people, when they come and they try it, they're actually taken aback. They go, wow, that was a lot more approachable than I thought it would be. It's a lot more easy drinking. It's not as heavy as I thought it would be. And at 5.1%, yeah, that's what we wanted to do. We're an open air brewery. So when you come to visit us at our brewery, we want to have easy drinkable, crushable beers that you can drink 3, 4, 5 of in a sitting. And with that, at that 5%, we think that's a good approachable site. On top of that, just easy drinking. It's not over the top. It's an approachable coffee, an approachable chocolate type roasty flavor to it without having to add those adjuncts or throw those extra flavorings into it to just make the beer a muddy, mess of just beer, for lack of a better description.
And what's interesting is the last time we went, it was both on a regular tap and on a nitro tap. And the experience really was a little bit different.
Oh, huge. That nitro just makes that velvety flavors just pop even more. I think pronounces them a little bit more. I mean, CO2 does good for the flavoring, but that nitrogen just makes that the flavoring coat your tongue and just easy going.
Is it fair to say that Baby Cakes is sort of your signature, isn't it, like first beer that everybody sort of goes to and that you sort of step forward? As I look at the tap or the sign behind you, an oatmeal stout is right up front. You got the Baby Cakes front and center with the other beers behind it.
IPA is definitely our number one mover by far. We move more of that than any other beer, just being a little bit more of the West Coast style, a little bit more piney resinous. A lot of people jump on that. Secondly, behind that though, absolutely is definitely Baby Cakes. I mean, if you go to Tampa, you go to the South Florida market, it is definitely one of our bigger movers for sure.
Interesting. And you have some more cores that are coming that you're going to be releasing pretty soon. You don't have them with you today.
Yes.
Pause. Not yet, but what can we expect the core beers are going to be at Walking Tree at future events such as this?
So cores moving forward, our Treasure Kolsch is definitely going to be a part of that lineup, as well as our Pool Day Pale Ale, an American Pale Ale, just easy drinking, crushable, nice flavor hop profile with it. But another fun one that we're going to be adding to the rotation is our Landing Strip Lager. So I know that's something you've had before, and I know that you're going to be releasing hopefully a review of it here soon. A crushable, easy drinking American lager, a little bit of a Pilsner hop type bite to it, lemon citrusiness going on, but easy drinking, crushable, really nice beer. Definitely one of the better ones I think that we've brewed in a while, and Mike, our owner, he thinks it's the best beer he's ever brewed.
That's amazing. It is a fantastically clean, beautiful, easy drinking beer. And like you said, on a hot day at the tap room, it is literally the perfect beer. So awesome. Cannot wait to see that come out into wider distribution. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys. Thanks so much for coming out. And yeah, check us out at the brewery.
Let's just chat. And then I'm definitely going to get him on another episode. I definitely want to do an episode with him just about the whole import process. So, but for today, let's start with this. It's interesting that with the beer festival, all the breweries that are here are from the state of Florida, except for you. Has that are people kind of, I guess, starting with a little bit of skepticism as to who are the people with the pink elephant? Like, what is this?
More that we get people going, Belgium, Florida, and then I got to say, no, we're actually from the country Belgium. But no, I mean, people have been, there's not a lot of people that are familiar with it here today. They said they see the pink elephants at the store and stuff like that, but they haven't necessarily tasted the beer. So I feel like we're making a lot of new fans today, for sure.
I find it amazing that people haven't tried at least Tremens. I mean, it's just one of those, like, if you're even somewhat interested in beer, why have you not had a pint yet?
It's definitely a cult classic. Like, people love it. People that know beer from back in the day absolutely love it. My favorite part of the job is hearing people's stories about the first time they tasted the beer, because it was actually the first beer that I tasted that made me go, what the hell is this? You know, it was like totally different from anything else that I tasted. So yeah, just educating like the kids that are kind of coming up these days that think that hazy IPAs and pastry stouts and super thick sours are like where beer started. They don't know the past, the old iconic breweries that have been around for hundreds of years that have withstood like all kinds of different ups and downs and everything like that, and they're still making great beer to this day. And it's just awesome to be able to expand like the youngins' mind a little bit and actually blow their mind sometimes, because honestly, anytime anybody tastes our beer, I would say maybe out of 100 people, I might get 2 people that are like, nah, it's not my style. Like, most people like say, this is one of the best beers I've ever tasted, you know? So I love that. It makes my job a lot easier.
And Tremens is fantastic. It always has been. But the Delirium Red that you also have with you today is utterly phenomenal. Which one do you think is sort of getting a bigger hit today?
Today, the Red is definitely the most popular one that's been going out today. I think It's a little bit warm. That one, the fruitiness, I don't know, makes you feel like you're at the beach or something like that a little bit. But it's got cherries and elderberries added to it. Still an 8% fruit beer. In my personal taste opinion, I think it tastes just like a cherry Jolly Rancher. It starts off sweet, but finishes a little bit tart. And like I said, it's still 8%, so it will sneak up on you. But it tastes nothing like beer. I mean, to me, it tastes more like juice than beer.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And has it been sort of, are you in the process of reintroducing, or are you always in the process of reintroducing, and Delirium is sort of, people haven't totally, it hasn't gone away, but people still haven't understood why they need to be drinking with the pink elephant?
I would say the latter. I think it's always going to be a challenge to, I mean, we are the number one, like, exported beer from Belgium, high-end exported beer from Belgium. Of course, like, back when Stella was from Belgium, that was the number one, but now that's all made here in the United States in St. Louis, Missouri at Anheuser-Busch. So we are now the number one high-end export out of Belgium. And I mean, it is a constant challenge to like get more and more people to fall in love with it, but it's an easy process. Like I said, as soon as you put it in their mouth, they're a fan. So it's awesome. I love it.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I was going to say, have you had any beer? You've had some beer today.
I've had a few beers, not a ton, but a few very good beers. And when you have 30 breweries, there's obviously a lot of good stuff to choose from.
Yeah, you're getting pretty good at the whole let's hold a beer festival in our parking lot sort of a thing, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's doing what you can with what you have. And you find a lot of breweries that you're friends with, and you meet them from doing all these beer fests all over the place, from up north to down all the way in Miami. And you just find what works. You know, a lot of people you vibe with, and it's all about being cool with each other. You know, you take care of them, they take care of you, and it's not about like favors. It's just like everyone helps each other out. And so today's like all these breweries, like we've got each other's backs. I love that about this industry. So like, you know, Bay 13 stand behind me. They put on one of the best Brewfests I've ever been to, and I know you know that, and anyone listening to this should know that because it's the best beer fest. And you know, we're talking about I can't be there, but I'm making sure I got someone that can be there because that's important to me, and I want to be there for them.
And it seems like you have put a lot of emphasis in building the community and building collaborations with all of these different breweries. It's not just a cash grab as much as it is sort of that building what you have here in North Palm Beach and South Florida as a whole.
Yeah, actually, for most people, they would think this is an extremely profitable day. And while, like, obviously internally, like, you know, we're moving some beers and everything, as a whole, like, you know, we're giving back to Busch Wildlife. So that's the most important part of this whole event. I love Busch Wildlife, and that's what this event is for. And every event we do is charitable in a way. But, like, I'm not here to get rich off these events. It's about building a community and showcasing breweries in South Florida and sharing what everyone else has to offer. You know, years ago, someone asked me, aren't you afraid of being one-upped at your own event? Because most breweries don't hold it at their own brewery. And I hope someone one-ups us. Like, I want someone to do that because it's like, this is what South Florida has to offer. You know, you want to see good beer here. Don't bring crappy beer. Not that there is, but like, bring your A game because you're here to showcase your brand too. And I want that. And it's important that everyone here is like, you know, Grogu cookies from Side Door. We've been over there a few times. Like, I've sent a ton of people over there. That beer is super unique and like, it's blue. So it's already really unique, but like, that's got people talking, and that's awesome. That's why we do this.
It's amazing. And you also have the vendors, and the vendors seem to be doing pretty well as well today. I know my team, they've already purchased some things, and I think I've got some stuff that I need to purchase before I head home because I've got my eye on a few things. Are they finding it good spending of their time as well?
Yeah, I mean, we do a monthly market, but like when you do this, you get more people out, obviously. So it's like, how do we kind of capitalize on people being here and seeing your brand as well? You know, there's people selling fishing lures right here. We've got a company with a mobile golf sim, which is pretty sick. We've got people that make cookies, clothing, and it's just like a wide variety, and we purposefully plan it that way so no one's like kind of stepping on each other's toes and how we do it. Everyone has their own thing and their own feel. And, as you walk around, you're finding different things as you go through the day. You're trying different beers, you're finding different items for sale, and it just kind of works. And that's what we aim to do, and we'll keep doing it that way.
That's awesome. And of the things that you have tried, other than Grogu cookies, obviously, what else kind of hit big either from Stormhouse or from any of the other breweries that are here today?
So Stormhouse, obviously, like we've talked, the Seafoam champagne beer. I was manning our tent for a bit, and everyone really loved that beer. The Peanut Butter Baby, which was a peanut butter porter, people were trying because it's like our first actual porter. But Bay 13 had a couple of really good beers. American Icon has my favorite sour, the Rainbow Sherbet, and anytime they bring it, I'm always there for it. Kelsey City had a few great beers. John is an amazing brewer over there, so anything he brews is going to be good. But they had I think it was 9.5 IPA with papaya that, if you told me it's 9.5, I'd probably tell you were lying. But it was a very good beer, phenomenal, great finish, and I honestly can't believe it was 9.5. But those are probably the standouts, but I also still have a few more to hit, so see where I go.
Awesome. Well, I won't keep you any longer since we're getting close to the end of the event, and I want to make sure that you get some of these before the kegs kick or they head on out. So thank you so much once again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here, too. We always enjoy you being here, and we're happy to have you behind us, and we're always behind you.
All right, so that is it for 2023 and the Florida Beer Podcast. We are already working on our next couple of episodes in 2024. I promised you a trip to North Florida. You're going to get that trip to North Florida starting in episode 161. I promise. I'm about to start work on those episodes right now. Very special thanks to Josh and the rest of the team at Stormhouse Brewing for your great hospitality. We really did enjoy ourselves because it was an absolutely fantastic event, and we cannot wait to come back soon. Remember to follow us on social media so you can find out all the fun things that are going on in Florida craft beer, and hopefully even more stuff than that. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's being called, and Threads at Florida Beer Blog. We are at FL Beer Blog on Facebook, on the internet at floridabeerblog.com and floridabeerpodcast.com. And you can always write to us at floridabeerblog@gmail.com. We are also a very proud partner and part of the Florida Podcast Network, an amazing collection of Florida-based podcasts written, produced, starring, and about the Sunshine State. And you can find that at floridapodcastnetwork.com. If you are listening to us on a podcasting app, please make sure to subscribe to us. If you can rate us, give us a nice juicy 5-star review. You can find us pretty much everywhere, including YouTube. So if you want to, you can go ahead and follow us and hit that bell to like and subscribe. Our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve McCullough. Executive producer for the Florida Podcast Network and Grand High Poobah is Jemmy Legagneur. This is David Butler, your host and author. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you in 2024, and drink Florida Craft.